All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Izzie. And my name's Isabel Hernandez, but everyone calls me Izzie for short. And I am in the spiritual community. I am a Reiki master healer. Um, I have been doing that since 2021. So taught some classes and I have a few students. I only have one Reiki master so far, but for the most part, I have been just doing mostly just giving the Reiki and doing sessions more than teaching. But that's something that I've been doing for a long time now, going on since 2021. So that's where I'm at in the spiritual community.
Okay. And how would you say that your journey started, spiritually speaking? Like, what did you start with? Like, what led you to Reiki?
So I actually started getting into the spiritual things when I was about, let's say that was in 2008, 2019. Going back, I always remember my mom, like she's Catholic, but she's not super religious. She's always been more on the spiritual side. So I've always been pretty tapped into my spiritual side. And I remember in 2019, I actually had came into this huge spiritual awakening whenever I decided to stop uh, taking pills. Actually, that I was, taking um, Xanaxes like for my anxiety. It was numbing me basically. I was doing it to numb myself, but one day I just decided I was like, this is the last one I'm taking, and I came into like this huge spiritual awakening. And I actually met this girl that I was working with, and she was super into witchcraft. And I remember she took me to my first metaphysical store. I bought my very first crystal, and I was like, it was something I had always been super interested in, like super intrigued by, but it wasn't anything that I had really delved into because I was so like, I was just kind of deep into drugs, and I was using and smoking weed was like my thing. And, I just wasn't really doing it for the right. I wasn't doing right by my spirit. So, yeah, I remember she's actually still a really good friend of mine too. She introduced me to witchcraft and um, more of the spiritual things. And she took me to my first metaphysical store. And it was right then and there where I was like, wow, this is something that I feel extremely connected to. Like, this feels right within my spirit. I was so lost at the time that I was like, I had no idea like what I believed in. I just didn't really know where I was at in life. I just felt extremely lost. But it was when I was introduced to those things that they felt right with my spirit. And it was like, wow, like this is something that I'm extremely connected to, and it resonates with my soul. So that was back in 2019. And so from there on, the more that I delved into it, it was like the more people that I attracted in the spiritual community. And I actually, my friend Bernice, I'm not sure if you know her, she does the body beads, but she introduced me to Ayana, which she had taken me to Allwell Spiritual Haven here in Oklahoma. And that's whenever I was introduced to, well, I had kind of been introduced to like the Reiki stuff a little bit before that, but Ayana, she was someone that I felt extremely connected to. So
So she taught you?
yeah, so she's my Reiki master. She's my Reiki master.
Nice.
Yeah, she's the one who had given me Reiki every step of the way. She's been there to help me. She always calls me, what she call me? I think she calls me her golden child or something. um, but yeah, she's the one who taught me. Like when I was introduced to her, I just felt really connected to her. And
Mhm.
you know, I like kind of speaking about this topic a little bit. I remember my niece had introduced me to where she was going, and I just didn't feel extremely connected to it because I'm a colored woman. Like, oh, sorry. Um, I'm a colored woman, so it's just it feels more authentic to me whenever I learn from another colored woman. Yeah, I feel more connected in that way. And so when I met Ayana, and she had like her own way of doing things too. Like she didn't go extremely off the book. Like when she taught me Reiki, she was like, well, this is how I do things, and this is what feels right with my spirit and my soul. And so yeah, I'm kind of going a little bit off topic, but yeah, she is how I was introduced to Reiki fully. And so she's my Reiki master teacher.
Nice. So I actually have her episode dropping, if not next week, the following. And I think those episodes will be right next to each other. So that would be
Oh,
pretty
nice.
cool. That she taught you. That would be pretty cool. And that you both are Leos and got to interview both during Leo season.
Yes. Yes.
So that's gonna be really cool. It's gonna be really nice. Okay, so that's good. So going back to what you said about just overcoming addiction and using spirituality kind of as a gateway for that, what would you say is like the main thing that woke you up or like made you say, okay, I know that I need to change and energetically something has to shift. And I know I can't do that by continuing to do the same thing and expecting a different result because not everybody gets to that point.
Yeah. Um, I would say just at that time in my life, I was going through so many changes. I had just got at like just moved out from being in a 7-year relationship from the time I was 15, basically all the way to the time I was about 22, 23. But I had just moved out from um, living with him, and then, which it was a very toxic situation. Um, it was just like one of those soul ties that I could not get rid of. And then also, my nephew, I had just recently, my sister, she, one summer, she decided she couldn't take care of him. So, um, I remember that summer, I was like, okay, like I'm gonna take care of him. And so that was like a huge shift for me. And I was like, I have to, I cannot rely on these pills anymore because it was like I was just relying on them to like for my personality. Like I remember I was a server at the time, and I had been serving at the Cheesecake Factory for, I think around that time, it was like I was on like my third or fourth year. And I remember like I would take them every morning so I could feel like I had confidence or something. Like they made me feel like I had confidence. Like without it, I just didn't really feel confident. I felt extremely insecure. Like I just felt like I needed them to be a person. Um, so it was around the time when I had decided I was going to adopt him that I was like, yeah, this is not something that I want to do, which, my sister, his mom, um, she is, she's an addict. And then watching my mom, and at that time my mom was living with me too. And so it was just a lot of things that I was like, yeah, this is not something that I need to continue doing. Like, I have to better myself, not only for me, but for him too. And so that was like one of the things that was a huge awakening for me. I just decided that spirituality was something that fed my soul more than anything that I had ever came across ever in my life. Like, I always felt extremely lost, but like I knew that I had a path, I had a purpose, but I just didn't know what, I mean, I'm 26 now, but I just turned 26. But at the time, yeah, I was
Girl,
20.
you silly baby.
I'm like, girl, I feel like I've aged so much though. Like, just like
No.
throughout the years, I'm like, wow, like I've definitely evolved. Like, it's crazy where I started and where I am now.
Yeah. That's why I'm just sitting here smiling, listening to you talk, because you just remind me of the younger version of myself. And now that I'm older, I'm just like, girl, you feel like you've lived a million lifetimes and you're
Yeah.
still in the same one. It's crazy.
Mhm. Yeah.
But so that's very powerful. So you kind of had to like become a mom, and that motivated you to just kind of like get your act together because you wanted to be a better role model. But you also had kind of these synchronicities happening all around you to where you're meeting the right people, you're going to the right places, you're making the right connections, and everything just begins to align and balance. And this is just me intuitively speaking, but I think that during that time, something that became very important for you was like gaining this balance or getting to this unity, making a path between your mind, body, and spirit. Like, okay, we are going to be on the same accord. I don't care what happens. We are going to be on the same accord. If my mind says no, it's no. If my body says no, it's no. If my spirit says no, it's no. If you can't agree, it's no. I think somewhere along the line you made like a covenant with yourself about that. And you just started going hard on every level, which not everyone
Mhm.
does. Like some people just start with the spiritual aspects of it. Some people start with the physical aspects of it, and then it just evolves into something else. But I think for you, it was like, I'm taking all of this on because I want to really transform, and I want my transformation to be seen kind of like from the inside out, not on the outside in,
Mhm.
which had been your previous life in a way. So I think that was kind of cool for you being so young. And that's why I say it reminds me of my young self, because I just went through such a strong awakening at a young age, like from like 19 to like 23. So, and it was just like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in that time too, I was so grateful to have that awareness. Like, more than anything, I was extremely grateful to be able to pull myself out of that situation and have that awareness. Like, I mean, to this day, I'm still very grateful to be this young and have this awareness that I have today. And be able, yeah, just be able to overcome everything. And yeah, I feel extremely grateful and abundant um to be able to do that. It's been a journey for sure, and it's definitely been a tough one, and I've had to do some hard shadow work. Hard shadow work, but to be in this space, to be in this mental state, yeah, that definitely does resonate with what you said though, because I just got to the point where I was like, you know what, fuck this. Like, I can't do this. Like, my body's tired. My physical body was so tired. My mental was so tired. And yeah, once I started creating those connections, it just felt amazing. I remember my very first Reiki attunement, my Reiki 1 attunement. Like, I felt on top of the world. I felt like a feather. Like it just felt so amazing.
Felt like for once that feeling that you've been chasing finally got it, but you didn't have to use any drugs, you didn't have to go to anybody else. Like it was just
Yeah, and I think that was what was like the most empowering thing is being able to say like I'm here sober. Like I'm here
mhm,
just with a clear mind and I feel amazing. Like
nice. So talk about having to shed because I'm sure going through that big of a transformation, you had to like change your people, places, and things in order to stay on track, in order to keep that balance between mind, body, and spirit, hold yourself accountable and make you do what you're supposed to do or what your higher self is telling you to do rather. So talk about like that grief of shedding because everybody likes to say like, I mean, and it's very beautiful coming out of that space because you didn't even realize how much darkness you're harboring till you get out of it. But even coming out of the darkness is ugly and dark sometimes. So I want you to talk about that. Like, I don't want you to cry, so don't dig up don't dig up anything too deep. It's too early for you to start crying. You can cry later on in the interview.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But just talk about that process of shedding and like the grief that comes with really empowering and enlightening yourself because it's not always rainbows and sunshine.
Yeah, you're right. It's not when I went through those phases of my life, like those seasons of my life, it was hard. I felt like more than anything, I was grieving myself. Like I was grieving the old me and like the things that I used to do and the friends that I used to have. Um, I definitely felt I did get to a point in time where I felt very lonely and I felt extremely secluded just from everyone. Like it even got to a point where I felt extremely far away from my family. And me and my sisters are very close. I have four sisters. I'm the youngest out of six, but me and my sisters are all very close. And I felt very far away from them. I just didn't really feel like I could talk to anybody about what I was going through. I just felt, just very secluded and alone. And there was a point in time where, my Gemini moon is like, isolate yourself, girl. Just isolate yourself. You don't have to talk to nobody about it. You'll be fine, just keep going about your day. So I did get to a point in time where I isolated myself on purpose. I just continued to try to work on myself. I eventually ran into, well, I met a group of people that where this woman, she hosts plant medicine ceremonies. And so I got really tapped into that. And that also caused me to go through a huge transformation with ayahuasca, actually, in those plant medicine ceremonies. And I was able to really dig deep and get into those deeper, darker parts of myself that had always been in there. I just kind of needed to dig them up. Yeah, as far as like shedding layers, um, I have to say, yeah, it was tough. I'm just thinking about everything right now of like how many layers I had to shed and how many people I had to let go of. For the most part, a lot of it had to do with the person that I was with, which was a toxic relationship that I was in. Me and him, we would try, and then it was like I was just constantly outgrowing him, and he just wanted to be there. And there were deeper parts of myself that I kept him around because I didn't want to see him with anybody else. And, you know, it was like those toxic parts of myself too. And then finally realizing that and realizing like, this is not okay. Like, you're not only hurting yourself, but you are hurting this man that obviously is wanting to be with you, wants to have a life with you, but you're not being fair to him. You're not being fair to yourself. You are still continuing to be a cheater. You know, I would cheat on him all the time. And then I, he would go and like get extremely fucked up and drunk and, do drugs. And then I'm sitting here mad at him. But obviously, he was in a state where he was extremely in love with me, and I wasn't. I loved him a lot, and I think it was just because we grew up together from the time I was 15 all the way till I was like about 22, 23. I had so much love for him, and I felt like in a way I was doing right by him by still continuing to stay with him. Um, which was, it was just hurting the both of us. I
Mhm.
mean, like deep down, like that's just what it was. It was hurting the both of us. And um I had to really take a deeper look at myself and be like, hey, Izzie, like, what are you doing? Why are you still continuing to do this with him? You're obviously hurting him. You're not, I mean, you're you're not being a good person to this person. Like they just because, he's this person, it doesn't mean that you are allowed to treat him this way. And so
Mhm.
that was another thing that I had to really do some shadow work on. I mean, that played like a huge part in my life, with the person I am today, and also with the person that I'm with now. I'm about to have a baby with, and we're engaged. And being able to do a lot of that soul work and come out of that and shed those layers, that was something that was like really hard. It was really hard to let go of that situation. Like I remember how hard it was. I mean, shit, there wasn't enough plant medicine, there wasn't enough spiritual work like that could make it any less harder. Like that shit was hard, and I'm really glad that I went through those things. There was a reason, I mean, those attachment issues that I had and the codependency that I had to overcome. And I mean, I still struggle with codependency to this day, but I'm aware of it now. So that's the better part of it, but I'm
Yeah,
like,
I get it. I get it. A bad relationship is definitely a catalyst to my spiritual awakening as well. And
Mhm.
shedding and like letting go, but not wanting to let go, and just like fighting with that demon of like even wanting to go back. And why do I still love this person when I should hate them? It's so hard to
Mhm.
break those spells, like, because that's really what it is. It's a spell, and you're
Yeah.
just stuck. It's insanity. You're just trapped in insanity. So I get it, but it's good that you took the time to really like do the self work, because that is important going into your next relationship. And you realize like how much of a better person you will attract. And you've experienced that, so it's a testament to your growth. And then the fact that you're with child now, after stepping up and taking care of your nephew and going through all of that, it's like God's like, okay, girl, I hear you and I see you. Let me go ahead and bless you. Like, you've
Yeah.
been waiting a long time, and this could have happened way sooner, but now is the time, and this is the journey. So let's go. And I love that for you. I think it's very beautiful, especially for you to only be 26, because baby. you don't get really grown until you turn 25. Like everybody thinks they're so grown at 18. Like we didn't know nothing. We did not know anything. We should have still been in our mom's house, probably having her wipe our ass. That's how stupid we were. Like, just,
I to this day, I'm like, when I turned 25, my entire life shifted. I was like,
what?
oh my gosh, like, what is happening? Like, this is a lot. I remember like so much, like even physically, things started shifting, and I was like, universe, God, what is happening right now?
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot. It was a lot. Like
Yeah,
that was a lot.
it's crazy because you're like, oh, I'm grown, I'm an adult now, everything's fine, I'm adulting. And then you turn 25 and you're like, I thought I was grown. I was a child. I was still a child. I should have stayed in a child's place. I don't know why.
Yes. I'm like, car insurance went down.
For real, no, seriously. No, but I feel you. That's like a really hard thing that I think a lot of people struggle with in silence is like letting go of soul ties because eventually they get tired of talking to their friends about it, they get tired of talking to their family about it, it becomes
Mhm.
embarrassing and they won't leave. So then they go back in secret and then they pretend like they're happy. And then it's just a repetitive cycle that no one really talks about, but it happens every day.
Yeah, it does. I remember being I remember my first ayahuasca ceremony. The medicine had showed me every single thing that I had did to him and every single time that he was there for me. And it showed like the beautiful moments of that we had, and but then she was showing me like every single time that I had hurt him. And I remember it was like extremely hard for me to see that. And in a sense, I thought that she was showing me that he was better for me and that, we should be together. And so I remember me texting him that night, and I told him like, hey, like we should try this out again. We should be together. And he was like, are you serious? And so we ended up getting back together. And I remember in a way, like my spirit was like, I don't think that you should be doing this right now, but this is a lesson for you. And I'm like, really? So we got back together, and it only took like a couple months for like he had fucked up and like did some extremely out of line shit. And I remember I was like, okay, so the lesson was for me to forgive myself for everything that I had did, for everything that I had did to him. It wasn't for me to go back to him. Like the lesson was for me. Like, and I remember like the medicine speaking to me and was like, yeah, girl, like the medicine was speaking to me and was like, yeah, girl, like that was for you to forgive yourself for every single thing, every single time you had hurt him. Like to know that you are worthy of love and you are worthy of giving it. Like this isn't one of those lessons where it's like you guys are gonna live happily ever after. Like this is still gonna
Mm-hmm.
be hard. Like you still gotta integrate this shit, girl. And I'm like, oh, like I remember I had that. It was like the aha moment. I was like, oh, okay. So that's what this is. And yeah, I mean, it was like I needed to see that in order for me to be able to see like that I could forgive myself and I could be in that space again, like be right with my spirit. And once I forgave myself for that, it was so much easier to just let him go.
Yes, yes, indeed. That's what it takes, the self-forgiveness and the commitment to put all that energy back into yourself. Okay. My next question for you, this is just random off topic. What is your sun, moon, and rising sign, and how would you say that it affects you both spiritually and then also in your relationships?
My sun, I am a Leo sun. Excuse me. I'm a Leo sun, Leo rising, and I'm a Gemini moon. I would say that my Leo sun and rising make me a very prideful person. And at times it's really hard for me to own up to my shit. um in my relationships. It's really hard for me to say sorry sometimes. Like I always want to be right. So sometimes I will argue until the end of time to be right. Which that I've been working on that. I've gotten a lot better. This relationship that I'm in has like made me I've had to step into that more evolved side of myself because it's not working if I don't, you know what I mean? So that has been something that has, affected my relationship is me having a heart and being very prideful. I mean, just all in all, just very prideful person, being afraid to ask for help, being like, oh no, I can do this. I don't need your help. Um, I've also noticed like even in the business aspect, I kind of get to that point where I'm like, I can figure it out instead of saying like, hey, how do you do this? Or I really like the way that you present yourself in this way. Like what, being able to ask for help and ask questions and um, just more in that sense. I would say my Gemini moon has affected me in ways with being I shut myself off. I get very quiet. I don't really like to say what's on my mind. Um, I did struggle with commitment issues for a long time that affected my relationships extremely. But I would say the more evolved side of me now, with my Gemini moon, I'm getting better with being able to speak up for myself and just yeah, being more vocal with my feelings because I mean I still struggle with it a lot, and I'm with a Capricorn and he's the biggest communicator that I know.
Girl, you gonna have to
Like,
communicate. My wife is Gemini moon, and it'll be 8 years that we're together in October. And I have known her for shoot, probably at least 15 years. But we've been together for 8 years, and she's a Gemini moon, Aries sun, Capricorn rising.
wow.
Uh, I'm a Capricorn sun, Leo moon, Scorpio rising. And I'd be ready to talk about it. I want to talk about it. I want to transform through it. I want to evolve. Like, I don't want to like just shut down and pretend like nothing happened and wake up tomorrow and act like everything is fine. I don't want to do that. Like, and
Hmm.
she just like shuts down. She don't want to talk about it. Like, it. We used to fight so bad about it, like in the beginning of our relationship.
Yeah.
But you grow to understand, and then me having the knowledge that I have of astrology, it's like I know like how much to push her and how like when to leave her alone or like give her space because I know she's just not gonna engage. I don't know what it
Mhm.
is about. Well, I do know what it is, but I don't think it's impossible to evolve through. I just do think it's something that you'll probably always struggle with as a Gemini moon because you guys don't even like to admit that you have negative emotions to begin with. So to talk about them is like jumping off a cliff. Like,
Yeah.
I don't feel safe doing that. And I don't know where this is gonna go. And even if it goes anywhere, my mind is gonna be all over the place about it. I just don't want to do it. Like, it's messy. It's like for disaster. So I get it. Like, but that's just me knowing astrology. And then you said you're meant to Capricorn. I am a Capricorn. And not just like you don't have to be like, you don't have to have all the perfect words or answers, but there has to be some type of reparative conversation, like to just smooth things over, even if there is no solution yet. There just needs to be some validation to the issue. Otherwise, we won't stop thinking about it, and then we will get angry. And we don't like being mad.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly it. I do catch myself where I'm like, it's so hard for me to talk about exactly how I'm feeling because yeah, like I'll feel embarrassed and unsafe. And I mean, me and him just had a conversation. Like, we have a lot of uncomfortable conversations, but sometimes it's really hard for me to come forth with what I'm feeling on the inside. I'm like, ooh, like it's so hard for me. And I'm like, why is this so hard for me? Oh my God. Like, and he's just like, it's just so free flowing for him. He's just letting it all out. And he'll tell me, like, it's hard for me to be vulnerable. And I'm like, you a lie.
Man.
I'm like, this shit is easy for you. Like, and it's just like being, being with child, being pregnant, I'm 10 times more emotional, hormonal. Like, I'm ready to just, I mean, my patience, usually my patience is very, it's A1, I would say, but lately it's just, I feel like I've been like snapping on him a lot and just, just we've been getting into it a lot more. And he's like, he told me today, he's like, what's up? Like, why do you keep tripping out on me like that? Like, are you okay? And I'm like, no, I'm not okay. I'm about to have a baby in like 2 weeks.
Like,
I'm
I'm
not.
freaking
I'm stressed
out.
out, okay? And he's like, well, I'm stressed out too. Like, but you need to tell me when you're feeling some type of way. He's like, you can't just snap on me and expect for me to know. And I'm like, I know. But yeah, there is times where I I have to really, really shift my mindset and be like, hey, like, you can't be so prideful. You can't, like, this is your partner. This is the person that you are going to marry. This is the person you're going to raise children with. Like, if you're feeling some type of way, you have to address it. And
Mm-hmm.
like I said, like, he's that person that's like, let's talk about this right now. And I'm like, I need space. And he's like, but we need to talk about this because if not, then we're like, no, we have to talk about this. And I'm like, it's a lot for me whenever, but I honestly, he has helped me evolve in those aspects.
He holds you accountable.
Yeah, because he is so communicative and I've just never been that person. And I mean, growing up, I was extremely shy. I know that I had a throat chakra problem. Once, I found out it was an energetic block. I was like, oh wow, like this is obviously energetically to why I'm blocked in this way is because I just struggled so much with communicating in general, speaking up for myself and just communicating. It was really hard for me, but he's the complete opposite of me in that aspect. And so it's helped me evolve so much in relationships and I'm able to really speak on how I feel. And like when he first met me, he was like, what are you even talking about? I don't see that problem with you. And I'm like, well, we just met. So like, of course
So
you
you
don't see
have
that
no
problem.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. No, I get it. Me and my wife have the same dynamic. I'd be ready to talk about it right now, and she's just like, I don't know what you want me to say. Like, I don't talk about it right now. And I'm like, how dare you shut down on me like that? What's wrong with you? And it's just like a whole thing. And like, I've learned to just give her space and time, because normally if she understands where I'm coming from, she will show it in her actions, and then later we'll have a casual conversation about it. But if that doesn't happen, then it becomes like a whole thing. And I don't want to deal with that whole thing, because now I'm mad. And once I get mad, like I don't like the person that I have become. So it's just like, no, before we even get to all of that,
Yeah.
let's just be adults and talk about it. It's nothing wrong with having a conversation. Even if it gets a little heated and we disagree, it's okay. Like,
Yeah.
we ain't gonna disrespect each other. Ain't nobody gonna punch nobody. Like, it's fine.
Mhm. And my Leo side is like, my Leo side fights so much with that side of me, because I'm like, well, why does he get to be better at communicating than me? You know what I mean? I'm like, I should be just as good at that.
That is definitely some Leo shit to say.
But I like I said, I had to put my pride to the side, and I'm like, it's okay, because he's helping me work through those things. I have to look at
Yeah,
it from that perspective. Like, he is helping me evolve in so many ways, because communication is one of the biggest things in your relationship. Like, that's what's gonna help y'all thrive.
definitely. Communication is key. For those of you in the audience, communication is key in relationships. It can make or break a relationship. I always say that, but it's not just talking. Like, there's understanding, there's compromise, there's sacrifice, there's redirection and refinement that you have to do. It's a job. It's like anything else. You have to put energy and effort into it together. Otherwise, it just ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work. You're gonna be just hating each other but not wanting to let each other go. And that's why most relationships become toxic, not because of the things that are said, but the things that are not said. The validation that never gets had, and then it turns into resentment. It's crazy.
100%.
It's crazy.
100%.
All right, so I want to shift a little bit before we get to our last few questions and talk about. So I didn't even know, first of all, that you were so young and so new on your spiritual journey. And then I also didn't know that you came from an addiction like background. First of all, like I started doing a whole series of interviews about overcoming addiction, people overcoming addiction, telling their story. I've interviewed like 3 people. I haven't put the series out yet, but it's interesting to get that little tidbit in here. So
Yeah.
thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to come back on later on after you've had the baby and talk about that, you're more than welcome. But that'll be the focal point. But so you being so new on your spiritual journey and then getting pregnant, I'm sure that there's been this kind of like cosmic like like whoosh that's happened of just like enlightenment and awakening and just awareness that was there before, but that's just like personified now. Um, so like how has that been affecting you, one? And two, how do you feel like your spiritual journey has kind of influenced your approach to your own well-being while you're with child, as well as the well-being of your unborn baby?
As far as the first question, um, I definitely feel like this entire experience has it's helped me evolve in many, many ways. My nephew, he's 16 now, so he's in those hard teenage years. So that's, and he's, you know, he's a boy turning into a young man. And I'm kind of like, in a way, kind of comparing this to, um, but I would say that a lot of what has came up for me throughout this experience is me feeling worthy to even be a mother. Um, that's been a lot of the emotions that have came up for me, which I have to keep reminding myself, like, well, you know, there's a reason why you're here in this space. There's a reason why you are obviously thriving. This, I feel like, um, I feel like I've kind of seen there's a lot of women around me that are also pregnant. A lot of my friends, I see that they're pregnant and their experiences aren't going as smooth as mine, I guess you can say. Um, they're a lot more sick, and I can see like they complain a lot about being pregnant because it's just like it's been a really hard pregnancy for them. Um, I would say that me being this person that I am today, I feel like energy is everything. And if your energy and your spirit isn't right, then physically you're just not going to be right and you're going to be going through it. And in this space that I am in today, this mental space, and how I take care of myself and how I take care of my energy has allowed me to have a wonderful pregnancy. I mean, I didn't have morning sickness at all. I think I got sick one time and it was like off of food, some food that I ate. Um, but I feel like, you know, your inner has a lot to do with your outer. And when you are nurturing yourself and you're taking care of yourself, um, spiritually, mentally, physically, that, yeah, I mean, your pregnancy will come out to be more than just morning sickness, or, you know, there's a lot of women that end up forming diabetes in their pregnancy, and there's a lot of things that happen to women. I mean, you're creating life, you know, so it's a lot. But I can't, like, in a way, whenever I see my friends, you know, post about how terrible their pregnancies have been, I'm kind of like, well, what are they, you know, what are they doing different? Are they doing what they need? Are they, you know, taking the vitamins that they need to take? Are they doing this? Are they doing that? And then one day I really sat with it and I really thought about it, and I was like, every day I'm nurturing myself. There were days that, I mean, my first trimester was a lot harder. um I had to shed a lot of layers during my first trimester, just because I was so used to being that person that got up every morning, went to the gym, and I had so much energy. And then my first trimester, I didn't have a lot of energy. I was feeling really tired all the time. And I was just, I mean, it was just kind of like it felt a little bit dark in that moment. And I think it was just because I could, you know, feel myself turning into a different transitioning, you know, going through a transition phase. And
Mhm.
I was basing myself more off of what I did more than who I was. And so I didn't think like me being who I was enough. So I was just going based off of like everything that I did. I was like, okay. But um once I realized, like, hey, you know, it's okay for you to sit down. Like, this is obviously a time in your life where you're allowed to sit. and be calm, and you don't have to be doing all these things in order for you to be worthy, in order for you to, be this badass woman. Like, it's okay. Like, you can still be badass and be chilling and sit down. And so that was more of, I would say, how it affected me spiritually, is I had to grieve those parts of myself, because now I know, like, I'm not the Izzie that I was in 2022, which was not that long ago. And
Mm-hmm.
I have even told my fiance too. I'm like, dang, like, I'll look at older pictures of myself, and like, pictures of myself last year, and I'm like, dang, like, that's who I was that year, and I can feel myself like grieving that person and missing that person. Um, but I've been coming more into acceptance that I'm not that person anymore. I am a completely different person. I'm a mother to my own child now. Like, I'm gonna be raising a tiny human. And
Mm-hmm.
um and I get the chance to be a mother, and I get the chance to be the mother that I always wanted. I always wanted a good mother, someone that would be there for me, be present with me, and be emotionally there for me. Um, so I'm giving myself that chance because I have that awareness. So it feels it feels really empowering. It feels different. Um, I would say I'm finally getting through that stage where I'm no longer grieving the old me, because I'm so close to my due date, which I know me going into labor and me having the baby is gonna bring me into a whole other transition as well. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
kind of preparing myself for that as well.
Are you excited? Are you nervous? Are you like at peace with everything? Like, how do you feel?
Um, I've been having my days where I feel a little unprepared,
Mhm.
and I feel like everything should be organized and perfect, and but I've also had other mothers tell me, like, hey, like, the baby's not gonna care, girl.
No,
Yeah,
as long
like,
as you love that baby and nurture the baby, everything will be
yeah.
fine.
And I'm like, someone actually told me that yesterday. They was like, you feel unprepared? I'm gonna tell you right now, like, he is not gonna care. He don't care about none of that, okay? He just wants your love, and he just wants your cuddles, and he's gonna want your breast milk, girl. Like, that's it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, like, it definitely helps me feel a lot better, because I do feel extremely supported. And I have a doula, and I have my four sisters, and I also have a lot of supportive friends that also all have babies. I'm probably the last person out of my friends
So you have a
that,
whole village.
yeah, so I have a whole village that is like, boom, like, willing to take care of me and help me in more ways than one. So I don't think that I'm extremely nervous anymore. The closer that I get to it, I'm like, you know what? I'm ready. Like, when it was like my first trimester, I was like, oh my God, I'm so scared. I don't know what to do. I don't think I can do this. Oh my God. But now I feel a lot better about it. And just talking with other women is like, it'll really bring that stress off your shoulders for sure. Cause they're so encouraging, and they're like, hey, like, I promise, like, once you see him, like, you're gonna forget about everything else.
Everything.
So I'm
Mhm.
excited about it. I'm excited for motherhood. I think that I think a lot of me feeling like I'm not gonna do the right thing stems from my childhood, and just basically how just how I grew up. And watching my mom, like, it was really hard for her to be a mother to us, um which that's something that I had to forgive her for. But a lot of those emotions have came up throughout my pregnancy. And, you know, resentment and those type of things. Because, you know, there wasn't, she just didn't know any better at the time. And I think she's kind of came to an acceptance that she's probably never gonna be that mother for us. She's still around. Me and her still have conversations, but she's an addict, so I think it's just more. Yeah, I think it's just more so just coming to an acceptance with that and just loving her, just the way she is. Like I just had that conversation with my sister the other day. I'm like, I just had to learn how to love my mom, just the way she is, you know. Like I think I had always wanted so much more for her, and honestly, I feel like I was her mother in a past life because the way that I love her so unconditionally, and my other sisters are like, "No, fuck that. We're not talking to her." Like, you know what I mean? They're like, "We're not doing it."
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. My
Yeah.
mom, she's an alcoholic. She's gotten a lot better in the last couple of years because she had to. But she's so smart and she's so like vivacious and like, I just saw so much more for her.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have been mothering her like my whole life, but especially like in my formative like teenage years, because she like reverted back to, I feel like a teenager when I was a teenager. Like
Yeah.
before that, she was being like kind of like a super mom. But then probably when I was turned like 16, I feel like she just checked out. Like
Yeah.
she just checked out. And so now, even now, I find myself like mad because I still feel like I want or need a mother that I'm never going to have. But I do love my mom, and she did raise me by herself. And
Mm-hmm.
I know that woman was like my child in a past life, or my sister in
Yeah.
a past life, or something. One, because she's a Libra, and I have Libra in my 12th house. But two, like I've been mothering her since I was 4 years old. Like, like that's weird.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I for a long time I was like battling with it. I've made peace with it a long time ago, but now I just be so frustrated because I'm like, you could be gone tomorrow, and what of your life? Like, just
Mm-hmm.
what of your life? Just like knowing what I know, it just it disturbs my spirit. But
Man, just knowing
I'm
what they're
trying to
capable
like
of. Yeah, I resonate with that so much, like on the deepest level. On the deepest level.
yeah, like it's hard because you want to see them be the person that you see in them, but they
Mm-hmm.
don't see it and they don't even think they can reach it. And at this point, they're set in their ways, so they're not going to change. So it's just
Yeah.
like I have to meet you where you are, but it's so hard for me to do that because I know that this is not where
Mm-hmm.
you should be. Like I know that this is not divine. This is
Yeah.
it's not. So I get it. I get it. It's
Yeah.
I still struggle with that. I be having to journal about it, talk to my wife, talk to a therapist, like figure it
Mm.
out because it
Me
just drives
too.
me
Those
nuts.
mother wounds, girl, those
Yeah,
it's
and you
like
have
I wrote a
siblings,
whole poem about it.
girl. Me too. You have siblings, so at least you can like go and talk to your siblings and be like, "Oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, your mother's pissing me off today. What is
Yeah.
going on?" It's just me. I'm her only one and only. So I just
Yeah,
be
that's
like,
hard. That's
just pray
hard.
for her and, hope for the best. Cause I mean, I think mom's only 50 or 51. She's not that old.
Ah, your mom is extremely young.
She's young, but you would swear she's like 75 the way that she acts. Like
Yeah.
75 going on 17. Like, what
Wow.
is wrong with you?
Dang.
So
You're
I just be like,
young.
Mom, you have a lot of life to live. And I just want you to live it. Like, you still have time. You could live a
Yeah.
whole new life in the next 20 years and nobody would bat an eye about it.
Yeah. That's why I always try to tell my mom too. I'm like, you're 58. My mom's 58 years old. She's a Taurus sun. I'm not sure what her moon and rising is, but she's a Taurus sun. Very stubborn woman. But she's so smart. She's an amazing woman. Like, anybody that comes across her is like, your mom is amazing. And I'm like, I know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Same.
like I wish she knew how amazing she was, but I I mean, I think just everything that she's been through, she just doesn't feel worthy of even any of that, you know. So, but me and my mom have done some major healing together, and she's very smart, and I feel like she's very, very aware of a lot of things, because there's been times where, I mean, me and her have done plant medicine ceremonies together, and we've definitely, you know, we definitely overcame a lot during those ceremonies, and she overcame a lot, and there was a lot of things that she had to overcome within herself as a mother to me and all five of my siblings. But I think that the more, like, I've talked to my sister, she's, so I'm the youngest. She's the one that is like right next to me. We all came in pairs, weirdly. Like, we're, my brother's 43, and then it's 42, and then it's 37 and 38, and then, or no, wait, is it 37 and 38 or 36 and 37? And then it's 27 and 26. I don't know, we all came in pairs. But um I was talking to my sister one day, and she just basically said, like, she had her son when she was really young. She got pregnant with him when she was 14, and then she had him when she was 15. And she just basically said, like, it was a lot easier for me to let go of mom and worry about myself, because I had someone that I had to be a mother to. She was like, on the other hand, like, you know, you don't have a kid. You've always just been there for her, which is true, you know. I mean, that's why I could, you know, I could really resonate. Like, me and her were together a lot of my teen years. And then, yeah, it was like by the time I turned like 15, 16, yeah, she just checked out. Like, she was just like, bye. Like, you're old enough to take care of yourself. Like, okay, bye. Which it wasn't necessarily like that, but kind of looking
That's
at
how
it,
it felt.
yeah, that's exactly how it felt. And
Yeah.
she's like, well, you don't really need me anymore, so I think you're good, you know. But I think it was just, I think, like, now me becoming a mother, I felt like it is easier to just let her be. And I'm like, I have a whole human that I'm getting ready to have and getting ready to raise. Like, I can't help you anymore like I was able to. I'm not emotionally available for you anymore. I have a whole family. I have a 14-year-old stepdaughter, I have my 16-year-old nephew, and I have a fiance. And, like, they need me more than anything, you know. And I just can't be that person that I was for you even last year, you know. Like, I was always there for her every step of the way. And, you know, she tried to guilt trip me about it a few times, like, well, now you have Richard and you're fine now, you know. And I'm like, I'm just like, okay, mom, like, I still want to make sure that you're okay though. Like, are you okay? You know, I'm still checking up on you. And um she definitely is still in her victimhood. But I'm not sure if she'll ever get out of it.
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. It's tough. But you just have to set those boundaries. Because I mean, I don't even have kids, but just getting married and noticing how my relationship with my mom is affecting my marriage and how it's affecting my relationship with the rest of my family members. Like, it was just like an eye-opening type of thing. So I can understand like being in a space where you're reclaiming your time and also your place in this life as her daughter. Because at the end of the day, that's what you are, and you don't have to like raise her and nurture her. You just honor her and respect her, love her. That's it.
That's
So
it.
I totally get that. I'm
Yeah.
the same boat, same boat. It does not get easier. I will tell you that when I was 26, I had so much more hope than what I have now at 32. How old am I? 31. You lose count after a while. I'll be 32 in December. But I don't want to say I lost hope completely. I don't think I ever will unless she passes on, God forbid. But I'm just to a point now where I think I'm just like, when she's ready to change, she will. And if she doesn't ever get ready, I can't take it personally because I do. Like, I am her only child. I'm like, you are my only mama. like,
Right.
like, it's me and you. Like, if God forbid something happens to you, like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I mean, I will be okay because I've gotten used to her not taking care of me literally, but
Mhm.
it's just really weird to go from having like a super mom to not. It's
Yeah.
very weird to like I think sometimes my mind goes back to my 10-year-old self and I just expect my mom to be that person. She's just not that person anymore.
No, she's not. She's not. And I think that was something that I struggled with too, because I did hear you say, like, I'm your only daughter. Something that I had struggled with was like, dang, like, are your kids not enough for you to like want to get your shit together? You know, like,
Yeah.
do you not love us or something? But um, it's all within her. Like,
Mhm.
it all has to do with her, and that's just, I mean, they say the first step to healing is acceptance, and that's one of the first things that I had to come into with my mom, and like healing those mother wounds is just accepting that, you know, she isn't that person that I'm expecting her to be, or that I know that she can be. It's just, she's just not, and that's okay. Like, I can still love her the way she is, but
Mhm.
it's not gonna change. It's not gonna change.
Yeah. Yep. Ooh. I bet you somebody needed to hear that though. I always feel so alone in that struggle because I'm like, that's my mom. I love her. Like, she raised me. She did what she had to do. But I just am like, what? Like, sometimes you just want to grab them and shake them. like,
Yes.
that's what
Yeah,
it's gonna take for you to get it together. So,
literally. I honestly in one of the ceremonies that she attended with me, you know, I brought her. I remember she, in order to attend like the ayahuasca ceremonies, you have to do a diet. So it's no stimulants, so no sex, no oil, no salt, no sugar, no alcohol, no drugs. Basically, you just have to go in with a clean slate,
empty.
clean spirit. Yeah, empty. And so I remember she had got herself clean for about a month, month and a half, so she could do ceremony with us. And you know, we were really hoping that this would, you know, because my mom's been in rehab so many times, but I feel like this approach was gonna help her in a more deeper, energetic way, spiritual way. And so I brought her to the ayahuasca ceremony, and she did great. Like, there was a lot of things that she was able to work through. She had a lot of breakthroughs. Just, I mean, she did amazing, and I really got to see my mom's inner child that those whole 3 days. But there was one day where usually after our ceremonies the next morning we'll do integration, and we'll have to talk about our journeys and our experiences, and basically what are some things that we worked through, or what are some things that we're struggling with. And so it was like our the woman that, she hosts the ceremonies, she made my mom get in front of me. Well, I started integrating, and she's like, everything that you just told me, like, tell that to your mom. And my mom was right there in front of me. So she like sat my mom in front of me, and I basically told my mom every single time that she had hurt me, and every single time that she had made me feel, abandoned. And there was just so many things that we had to work through. And I just remember it was like one of the hardest things that I had to do, because I'm looking at her, and for some reason my mom, I have just such a soft spot for her. Like, it's crazy how much of a soft spot I have for her. That's why I was like, man, I really feel like she was my daughter, my kid in the past life, because like when I look at her, I just look at her with like, man, like I just love you so much. Like, and I just have like this feeling of like, I just feel so bad for you, and I just want you to be okay. Um and I remember just looking at her, and like she was receiving everything with an open heart with what I was telling her, and I can tell how hard it was for her. But that was like one of the moments in my life that I'll probably always remember, because it was a huge breakthrough, um, for not only me but for her. Like, those were some, like, I mean, when do you really get to sit in front of your parent and tell them every single time that they had hurt you or made you, feel like you weren't enough for them? Or, like, when do you really get to do that? Not a lot of people get to do that. And like,
Yeah, no,
the
not a lot of
parents
people do.
listening,
I mean,
so.
my mom is a Libra, so she's always been like, "Tell me how you feel." Like I can tell her how I feel. She may not do anything about it, but she'll listen to me, and she may apologize. If she feels the need to
Mhm.
apologize, but just to tell her, like in one sitting, every time she's disappointed me, every time I felt abandoned, every time I expected more from her and it was just like let down. Like I can't even imagine that. I think she would just crumble unless it was a situation like that where we're on plant medicine or shrooms or something, because her mind would be like ready and open to receive that. But just
Yeah.
like at face value, I can't imagine that. It would either break her down or she would get angry and she would start being defensive,
Hmm.
and she'd be like, "Girl, I raised you by myself. I was
Yeah.
the best mom I could be." I don't want to hear that.
Mhm.
Like,
It
I
would
don't
just
want to
go
hear all
straight
that.
to ego. Like,
Yeah, like I don't want to hear all that. So,
yeah.
but no, that is pretty cool. That's a pretty cool experience to have. That is definitely one of the things that helped me heal on my spiritual journey. And my wife helped a lot with that, because when I moved, like when I left the relationship, left the city, moved, um, I was like distant from my mom. Like I was not intentionally, but just everything I was going through before I left, and like her inability to be present, and just like it just made me resentful. So I was like angry, and I wasn't in the space yet to be open and forgiving. Like it was to my mom, I loved her, but I wouldn't talk to her every day. I was not going home, not even once a month, barely going home on the holidays. Like it was just, I was just distant. But then whenever me and my wife started dating, she's so family oriented. Like she has two sisters. Her mom and dad have been married for years. Like basically all of her sisters' lives in her whole life. And she's the youngest. So, and she's 32. So they've been married, I think, like 40 years almost.
Wow.
Um, so like she's a really like family oriented person. And she told me like, you need to make up with your mom. Like, I don't know what's going on between y'all, because I knew her before we started dating. Like, I had known her for years. We just lost touch and we never really dated. We were just friends. She's like, I know you're always close with your mom. Like, just you're just very isolated now. You need to make up with your mom. So I did. I started going home more, and like I started talking to her about how I felt and why I became so distant. And we did do a lot of healing, and it was very transformative. Um, but it's just still hard. It's still hard to see them struggle with those demons every day when you know like how beautiful of a person they are inside, and like everybody else can see it, but they can't see it. And they shut everyone out.
Mm-hmm. My mom, she just, yeah, she's the same way. She shuts everyone out. She's like, nope, like, and we're all like, I always tell them, like, I told her when I got pregnant, she was one of the first people I told when I got pregnant. Because she was here actually when I found, she told me I was pregnant, and I was like, no, I'm not. And she was like, yeah, you are. And I'm like, no, I'm not. It was on Christmas Day that I found out. She told me on Christmas Eve. She's like, you're pregnant, mija. And I'm like, no, no, mom. And she's like, okay, well, you are. And then the next day I took a pregnancy test, and sure enough, I'm pregnant. So I told her, and
Yeah.
I remember like she was getting ready. I mean, it was around that time. She had relapsed in like October. So this is Christmas. And so, of course, she's still using around this time, but I allowed her to come have Christmas with us and stuff. And then I remember I told my fiance, I was like, I want to tell her because I don't really know where she's about to go. Like, she was getting ready to leave again. And I was like, I don't really know when I'll see her again. And I don't really know where she's about to go. And I just feel like maybe me telling her will somehow, maybe, like, a miracle will happen and she's gonna want to get right or something. And that was just, me, like, having that faith in her, and like my wishful thinking, and my also, just also just wanting to have that, I guess. But I mean, of course, like, that's not that wasn't the case. But
Yeah.
I yeah, I
It
think that's
just sucks.
how it is.
Yeah, it is. It's like they are the only ones that can pull them out, and we try so hard to save them. I don't even know why we try. It's like we can't stop ourselves from trying. I don't know. Maybe that's a good thing. I don't even know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I just can't turn it off. I know that.
Right? It's crazy how much like, I can't believe how many times I put my feelings before, or put her feelings before mine. I can't even remember, or I can't even think of how many times I've done that, and I finally got to a point where I was like, I mean, at this point in my life now, I'm like, I can't do that. And my fiance will tell me, he's like, yeah, you can't be doing that. He's
Yeah,
like,
my
I know
wife
you
will tell
love
me
her.
that we're not doing it. No.
He's like, I know how much you love her. Like, I know she's a good person. Like, he's like, trust me, like, I see how good of a person she is too. He's like, but it's only hurting you in the end. He's like, and I cannot continue to watch you hurt like this over your mom anymore. Like, and I'm like, there's times where I do get tired of talking about it, and I'm like, man, like, especially with my sisters, like, I when there's times where, like, hey, have you talked to mom? Say they don't have conversations with her. Me and my mom, we talk on a weekly basis, I would say. Like, I'll ask her if she's okay, and she'll ask me how the baby's doing and stuff like that. But yeah, for the most part, like, I still put my energy into her, and my sisters are just like, nah, like, we're good on that. Like, they're so much older than me, and they have, been married for a long time, and all their kids are like 18 years old, and I mean, they're older than I am.
So
So
they're like to the point where they just are disconnected and detached. I don't know if I'll ever get to that point, especially being an only child, but I will say getting married did something. I don't know what it did, but it did something to make me put the boundaries and stick to them, to make me stand up for myself when my mom was like victimizing herself and trying to take me through guilt trips instead of just like feeding into her. I don't know what maybe it was a combination of just me aging, becoming more emotionally mature and getting married. But since I got married, I do feel like I have better boundaries with my mom. Like, I don't let her take me on her emotional roller coasters anymore. I can't do it. So it'll get better, maybe for both of us with time, but it is definitely like an ongoing struggle. Okay, I got two more questions for you. So, first question, what are some things that you would recommend to mothers who are expecting to keep their energy balanced, protected during their pregnancy? Like, what are like maybe 2 or 3 things that you would recommend they do or read or like practice?
I have a little routine in the morning that suits me. Um, I'll wake up and I set about 45 minutes to the side for me to, it's a small part of my day, but it's something that starts my day off. And it definitely helps. Um, I start off with connecting to my womb. I like to do a small meditation, about 10 minutes. That's how I usually like to wake up, or just like with a small prayer. And then I set my yoga mat out. I light my incense, whichever, and I mostly like frankincense and myrrh. So I'll light my incense, and then I drink a nice glass of water or bottle of water. I take my prenatals, my magnesium, and then I do yoga. Yoga has really helped me throughout this entire pregnancy. I was a weightlifter before my pregnancy. I still lift weights a couple days out of the week, but yoga has been like where I go, and that's my zen place. That's where I like to calm down. It brings me to just like, it really grounds me, I guess you can say. It has grounded me throughout this entire pregnancy. It's really helped me. There's like some beautiful prenatal yoga that you can find on YouTube that I've ran into, that I've learned a lot about. And so that is what has helped me throughout this pregnancy. And I like to do like womb healing. So basically just honoring my womb, honoring my sacral chakra. That also keeps me in a very grounded state. So I'll, buy myself some flowers, like some roses. I rub rose oil on my womb, pray over my womb. I'll do like a womb healing ceremony where I'll create some type of art, something that has to, do with your womb. And then what are some other things? I have a friend that does womb healing ceremonies, and those are typically very beautiful. So you just basically you go and you integrate and you tell a story about, something that connects you to your womb. So it could be that sexual energy, any sexual traumas that you've been through, or your confidence, your insecurities, anything that connects with your womb. Those are kind of like what the womb healing ceremonies consist of. And we'll do like we'll express our creativity by doing art, drawing, writing on a piece of paper, any type of releasing anything, affirmations. Yeah,
A
I
lot of
think,
mindfulness practices, it sounds like.
yeah, mostly a lot of mindfulness practices that have really helped me throughout this pregnancy. It nourishes me more than anything.
Nice. Um, okay, I just want to comment on one thing. This is more so for the viewers than for you, but a lot of the time you guys have heard us talking, you'll notice that Izzie talks a lot about building community around herself on her spiritual journey and finding people that will lead her to her next place, or finding ceremonies that will take her a little bit deeper, or building community around things that she's interested in. That's a great way to kind of self-initiate and level up spiritually for those of you who are more social, where if you're an extrovert, if you're someone who um, people easily gravitate towards you, that's a great path to take. And it's not necessarily that you're forcing these things to happen. Usually when you're ready, they'll just start aligning, but you have to be open to it. Like, that's a big part of it. And she was definitely open to it at the time. There are some people who are not as extroverted, or people are not as attracted to you as easily, or maybe you're just always in the house, so you couldn't even possibly meet somebody if you want to, because your ass isn't going nowhere. Okay, first of all, you need to go outside. Like, you need to go outside at the end of the day. Like, we all need community. You can read all the books in the world, you can watch all the YouTube videos in the world, but if you don't have like a real sense of community, even if you're building virtual community because you have to, where you're like face to face talking to these people, you guys are able to message each other and kind of chat, get like a sense of intimacy with the people that you are entrusting your spiritual journey and like different aspects of your spiritual self with. You're going to get stuck on your spiritual journey, and you're going to get stuck exactly where you started, which is in your head, because you've convinced yourself now that everything is mental, when in reality, this is not just a mental world. Yes, our mind is the beginning of everything. So once you get your mind right, everything else can flow down. But you have to feed into those other aspects. Okay, you have to go into the physical and build community. You have to connect with your ancestors, or connect with plant medicine, which is another kind of version extension of your ancestors, because at the end of the day, we all come from earth. Okay, we all come from earth, we all come from the elements. All the elements on the periodic table are in our body. If that doesn't let you know that we connected to this earth on an ethereal level, I don't know what else will. Like, we all learned that in science class. All of us did. So I just wanted to throw that in there, because a lot of the interviews that I've done so far have been either about like people getting actually initiated, or just kind of like studying their way on. And I think it's really cool how you were able to really just form a lot of community around yourself. And I think it's just the area that you're into. Um, it's a spiritual place. So it makes things easier to kind of align with that energy. Okay, my last question for you before your postcard from spirit is just, what is something that you would tell someone who is starting on their spiritual journey? They don't know what to do. They're trying to find just some enlightenment and empowerment. What would you tell them to do, or read, or like what direction would you point them in?
Um, I would point them in. I would probably point them in the direction of maybe us having some tea together, talking about it, and also let them know that they're worthy of receiving healing. They are that there is a big community out there that they can connect with. Um,
Mhm.
to not be afraid to reach out and ask for help. There's always someone there willing to help. Um, I would probably tell them, yeah, I would probably just sit them down and ask them if they want to have tea or drink some cacao. Maybe come to one of my cacao ceremonies. I also host ceremonies. I host sound healing ceremonies. But to get connected in that way with themselves, I would probably tell them to come out to a ceremony and get loved on. Know
That's the
that
way to
there,
do it.
yeah, know
That's
that there's people out here that there's plenty of like-minded people out here that are also seeking the same thing. So to not feel embarrassed and know that they're worthy of coming out here and meeting other people, and they can talk to people like us where we're out here. I mean, it's hard, but you're right. In Oklahoma, the spiritual community has definitely expanded. It's a lot bigger than, I mean, shit, like I
I think
said,
it's probably always been that way. It's just more people are talking about it. It's
yeah,
more
that's
people.
very true. Very,
Because
very true.
you got to think about the fact that you guys are on sacred land, so it's just a spiritual place to begin with, and there's a lot of history and roots and metaphysical ties there
Mm.
on that land. So it's probably that a lot of people were practicing in secret, and then after the pandemic, because nobody had anything else to do but post on social media and figure out how to explore themselves, you just see it more now. So it seems like all these people are popping up when some of them probably may have just gotten awakened, but they probably have always been there.
Yeah, I agree. They definitely have. They've definitely always been there because tapping into all of that, I'm like, wow, this is a huge community. Like, this is huge. I mean, now I'm deep in it. Like, once I got in it, there was no turning back. Like, I just went to a ceremony this past Saturday, and the girl that was hosting, she's like, man, I've really been wanting to meet you. Like, I've heard your name in ceremonies, and I'm like, really? I'm like, dang, but that is true. Like, it's that spiritual community, they're out there. So
Mhm.
I feel like someone in that state, I would definitely tell them to come down to a ceremony and get connected with us, because we're out here and we're willing to help, and we're willing to be a support. We're willing to help you help yourself. So um there's a lot of amazing people that I am connected to and that I have connected with throughout my spiritual journey, that have helped me tremendously, um, have helped me help myself. So, and that's what it's all about. That's all we're doing as an energy worker. I always tell everyone, like, you're here because of you. Yeah, I'm not healing you. I'm just helping you. I'm just a guide. That's all I am for you. I'm just a
Mhm.
vessel. I'm just here to help you, but you are doing the work. Know that you being here is you doing the work. So, as an energy worker, I always tell my clients that, because a lot of the time they're like, "Thank you so much." Like, thank you so much for healing me. And I'm like,
It was
I'm
you. You just made yourself ready.
I always like to tell people, I'm like, I'm just that little push that you needed. That's it. That's all. I'm a guide. I help. That's what I'm here on this earth for, is to help, to be of service. But just know that me and what I've accomplished in my spiritual journey is because I accomplished it. This is what I did. This is the work that I chose to do. And this is the work that I chose to come out to do. And that's how I'm here in this space that I'm in now, is because I chose it. We all have a choice. And it's either you choose to, be helped, or you choose to not be helped.
Listen, you're either evolving or dying. That's the reality of it. You're either evolving or dying. So whatever path you want to choose towards enlightenment and evolution, That's your business. That don't have nothing to do with me. But once you begin to seek knowledge and you start to know things, you cannot unknow them. So there's no
Mhm.
going back. You're only going to go deeper and deeper. And whether you go into the abyss of darkness with that depth, or you go up into the heavens of goodness with that depth, it's totally up to you. You can even be somewhere in the middle, balanced. It's totally up to you, but it's definitely a choice. First and foremost, to show up for yourself and
Mhm.
choose to do what you know to do, not what you feel like doing, because there's a
Right.
huge difference between making choices and choosing what you know to do versus what you feel like doing. That's the difference, really, between us having free will and not having free will. If we didn't have free will, then we would just do what we should do all the time, but we do. So with that being said, it's like choose still to do what you know you should do so you can know that you're on the right path. It's really that simple. Because again, you're either evolving or you're dying. That's it. Like there's no in between of that. Are you
Exactly.
just existing day to day? If so, you're dead. You're already spiritually dead. You
What you
can
gonna do about
definitely
it?
you can be resurrected, but you gotta
Yep.
choose. You gotta choose that. Any good energy worker, body worker, anyone that does massage, Reiki, any form of energy healing, somatic healing, even anybody that holds ceremonies will tell you you have to want you have to want it. You have to want to show up and do the work. It's not up to the healer, the host, the service provider. It's definitely up to you if you're ready for the medicine or not.
That is completely up to them. I always tell my clients, I'm like, when you walk out of these doors, know that everything that you decide to do is 100% up to you. I'm like, we can sit here and integrate and talk about how much you want to heal and how much you want to do this and that and get right with yourself. But everything that you decide to do when you walk out of these doors is completely up to you. Like you don't get out of ceremony, you don't do a long, hard 4 hour ayahuasca ceremony and be like, oh, I'm healed. That's it. I'm done. Everything that you decide to do after that is up to you. The medicine shows you the work that needs to be done, but what you decide to do with that is it's all up to you.
Mm-hmm.
So, um yeah, just yeah, so what I can say is seek community. Seek community. Do not be afraid to ask for help. If you see a spiritual event, something going on, and you are an introvert, go to that spiritual event. I promise you, there's going to be somebody there that you are going to connect with on the deepest level. And that person will end up being able to help you.
Yep. Yep. That's so true.
Yeah. So, I mean, and even if you, like me and you, we've never met in person. We
Yeah.
only ever, known each other through social media, but I feel like I know you.
I know a lot of spiritualists like that, and I feel the same way. Me and Ayana, we've met in person one time, very briefly, in Dallas at this year Bobby concert. But other than that, I haven't like hung around her in person. But that's my sister. You can't tell me
Yeah.
otherwise. Like, so you definitely building community is important. You have definitely brought that out in this episode. When I put the description, that's going to be something that I'm going to highlight for sure. Okay, I don't want to keep you any longer because we've already been here almost 2 hours. It doesn't feel like it, but we really have. Um, so tell the people where they can find you if you want them to find you. And then I'm gonna give you a postcard from Spirit and we can close.
Okay, sounds good. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook. On Facebook, you can find me under Izzie Hernandez. I do have my business link to there, but I prefer you can just hit me up on my personal page. I'm always on there. So spelled Izzie Hernandez, HERNANDEZ. And then my Instagram is Swizzle Sticks. So SWIZZLESTIXX, or you can just look up Izzie Hernandez as well, and my Instagram will pop up. Like I said, both of my business pages are linked to my personal page, but I prefer you just hit me up on my personal page. It's a lot easier that way. I'm always on there. I'm more responsive on there. I post a lot more on there as well, so you can reach me there.
All right, make sure you guys reach out to Izzie if you feel called to do so. And make sure that you comment on the video to join the conversation. Press the thumbs up to push us out into the algorithm, and share this video to your friends or somebody that needs to hear these messages. All right, my dear, this is for you and anyone else who needs to hear this message. It's so funny because I feel like the last time I did a reading for you, this same postcard from Spirit came out, but here we go. Dear
Like
you.
2 years ago, I think.
No, like recently.
Oh no, that was recently. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
recently. A few months ago. Yeah. I want to say like maybe in May.
Yeah, it was like a quick, I think it was a
Like
career
2
reading.
quick questions or something that
Uh-huh.
you asked
Yeah.
me or something like that. Yeah, something like that. But I think it was the same one. So it says, Dear you, there is only one you, and you have a unique place in the universe. Sometimes situations come up that challenge you to be authentic. That means you have to be fully yourself and let go of being what you think others may want. Now is not the time to conform to other people's standards or expectations. Be proud of who you are and be courageous. Stand tall in your convictions. Being yourself is a powerful statement and will only lead you to success and ultimately happiness. Don't compare yourself to other people. Want what you have, choose what your heart wants, and know that your purpose is yours alone. No one else can claim your magic nor take it away. When you place authenticity and originality high on your list of priorities and give them a prominent place in your awareness, extraordinary things happen. Your life is a beautiful one. Love you always and forever. Girl, yes, that's like
Yeah.
right on time.
It was. Yeah, that's a beautiful message for sure.
So I
It,
will give it that. You guys, thank you for tuning into this episode. When you do watch it, again, make sure that you please interact with the content. If no one else has told you today, you are loved, you are highly favored, heavily protected, and divinely guided in all that you are and all that you do. And thank you, Izzie, for being with us here on the Enlightened Investments podcast tonight. I hope you have a smooth, safe, wonderful delivery, and I hope you have a good rest of your week.
Thank you so much, Shawnee. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed talking with you. And yeah, overall,
Likewise.
it's a beautiful interview. And yeah, I really hope we can do this again.
Yes, likewise. Thank you. Bye.